I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into The Locker Room. We have yet another great show for you today. I also have some massive news to be announcing this Saturday, so make sure you're following us on our social media. The Locker Room Podcast 615 on Instagram, The Locker Room Host Jacob on Facebook, TLR with Jacob on Twitter, The Locker Room 22 on TikTok. All right, big news dropping Saturday. I promise you do not want to miss out on this news. Follow us on our social media. This episode is brought to you by FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com for all of your supplement, your clothing, and gym needs. Basically, anything you need to go to a gym to make yourself look better, feel better, get bigger, get better, make yourself the best version of you, FNX Fit can hook you up. Use your promo code TLRHOST. That is TLRHOST, all capitals, for 15% off your order. I told you we were going to open up the show with fan questions, and so we are. Now, I apologized right off the bat. If I left out your question, I got a lot of them. I'm just trying to accumulate my top 10 that I could find. Some of these were pretty recent as of today, and they were really good, so I had to include them. But we've got 10 questions here from fans around the globe. I don't know if they're around the globe, but it just sounds cool to say that. So let's start off with question number 1. Now, in all fairness, this question literally got asked like 4 hours ago, but I had to move it to number 1 because this is the most excited I have been in my recent memory, right? Probably my wedding day, then this. NCAA football is coming back to an Xbox, to a PlayStation near you. It has been since NCAA 14 that we got such a glorious game, and we are getting it back, people. It is here, and I can hardly contain my excitement. Now, the question that was asked was, what are my thoughts on them coming out with a new NCAA football game, and what are my thoughts on the NCAA franchises as a whole, both basketball and football? Great question. I don't know how to pronounce this name, so I'm not going to pronounce this name. Is it Petro? Let's go with Petro. All right. So, first and foremost, let's answer what are my thoughts on the franchises as a whole, and then we'll talk about the game coming out. NCAA football 14 and NCAA basketball, was it 13 or 12? I think it was 13, are some of the highest rated sports games of all time. Statistically, a fan favorite, they are still up there with some of the biggest sports games of all time. So for them to withstand, especially having a hiatus of how many years, to withstand the test of time and be beloved by so many people, that statistically they still are up there with NBA 2K14. Or 2K14 was the second highest rated sports game of all time in history. So they are up there with some of the greatest sports games of all time. The franchise as a whole brought the love of college sports and a fan favorite My Player mode into one. The My Player mode is the highest played mode in the NCAA football game, especially in 14. It really did a great job of letting you create your high school, create your uniforms, be the star quarterback in high school, work your way up to college, and get to play at your favorite college of all time. I mean, I literally remember being a quarterback for the Oregon Ducks, and just winning national championship after national championship, because if you did a wheel route, it was the most unstoppable route in that entire game. So, but it did a great job of that, and that's the most, if you want to look at the statistics, because I am a statistics guy, the My Player mode is one of the highest played modes in all of the NCAA games. And they did a great job of that, both basketball and football. So as a franchise as a whole, I think, and I truly believe this, I think people like college sports more than they like professional sports. And if there's a diehard, even if I'm a diehard Bears or diehard Titans fan, I will always go Oregon Ducks over all professional sports all the time. No matter how much I love all the professional sports, there's just a certain love for college sports that no other sports have. Why? Because these kids play with passion, they play with heart, and they play every down like it's their last. Whereas in pros, especially in the NBA, you get a lot of players that take games off, don't give it their all, they don't play defense until the playoffs. Same with football. Some of these players, if they know they're a bad team, they kind of take the season off. They go, all right, let's just check out the season and let's try and get the number 1 overall pick. And that frustrates a lot of people. And I hear you because I am a part of that. But the franchises as a whole did a great job of bringing a college atmosphere, the love of college football, into a game. They both had both basketball and football in the NCAA franchises. Had great my player modes where you could really build your career up, and those were just so much fun. Now, the second part of that question, what do I think about them bringing out another college football game? It's about damn time. How many times have we seen a guy or a girl holding up a sign that says bring back NCAA football on college game day during the college football season? I literally can account probably once a Saturday you see a sign that says bring back NCAA football. It's a beloved franchise. Don't get me wrong, it is my all-time favorite sports game. There's not one sports game that will ever trump NCAA 14 football. Honestly, basketball too, but football for sure, unless this new one is just so great that I can't get enough of it. I pray that whoever handles the Madden franchise stays the hell away from NCAA football 21 or 22, right? Don't get near it. If you are a Madden fan and you know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm not going to spend $55 for a crappy game mode, a horrible my player mode, and basically a roster update, right? Keep it out of the hands of those fools taking on Madden right now. But the franchise not only means a lot to me personally, of course it means a lot to everybody, but the franchise needed to come out with a game. They needed to come to an understanding with the players of, hey, if we use your likeness, you're going to get X amount of dollars, or the school is, or whatever it is. Whatever they came to an agreement with that allowed them to make this game, kudos to you. You're the big winners of the year. All right, now that I got that out of my system, let's go on to question number 2. What will Matthew Stafford's impact be? I believe Matthew Stafford makes the Rams a real contender. Although I don't think Jared Goff's a horrible quarterback, I believe Jared Goff had a cap limit. He had a play style limit. And I think Sean McVay knew that exact same thing. People don't understand how talented Matthew Stafford is. People like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, big name guys talk about Matthew Stafford's talent all the time. They talk about his arm talent, his vision, his awareness. Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. He has been dying in Detroit for the last, 9-10 seasons. I am so happy that at the young age of 33, he gets to live out the rest of his career with a team that could potentially get to the Super Bowl if he plays at a high level. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, he's not very great against good teams. Well, guess what? The Detroit Lions aren't good against great teams. I don't believe that fully lies on Matthew Stafford's back. And a lot of people have also said he's very injury prone. I get that. Look at his offensive line. Look at what he's had to deal with that franchise. He literally has put the entire city of Detroit on his back. Broken thumbs, fractured backs, all in all, horrible offensive lines, not great offensive teams. Even, think about this, Megatron got out of there early in his career. Everybody that was good basically said, yeah, we're dipping out of Detroit, and Megatron just straight up retired. He's like, I'm good, I'm done. So Matthew Stafford's going to have a chance to have not only a great defense, and the Rams played top 5 defense all year, statistically as well. Not only is he going to have a great defense, he's going to have a much, much better offensive line. He's going to have a ton of offensive weapons. Robert Wood, Cooper Kupp. He's got some really good guys on that team that can catch the football. I do believe the Rams need 1 or 2 more pieces. They added the quarterback. I believe they need another offensive lineman in this draft. And then they need a turn-and-burn wide receiver to really open up. They have a lot of very good possession receivers. Cooper Kupp, Reynolds, the tight end, and then, of course, Robert Woods are very good possession catchers of the football. They're not great turn-and-burners. So they need to add a couple more pieces, and this team could, honestly, I'm not joking, could be a real contender next year. Moving on to question number 3. What is Conor McGregor's next move and or next fight? Conor McGregor is going to fight at least 2 more times this year if he cannot go on the injury list, which would put him out 6 months. I think we're going Nate Diaz 3 here. Conor's problem right now is after losing to Dustin Poirier, Conor really is in a weird avenue here. Does Conor McGregor come back and fight somebody like a Tony Ferguson in 5 months? I don't think so. What makes sense for Conor right now is to get a big money fight, get back in the win column, and then he'll probably have a title shot depending how the chips fall in probably maybe December, if not easily February or March of next year. But I believe we're going to get Nate Diaz 3 here with Conor McGregor. I do believe Conor McGregor gets back in the win column. Now, I know I said he was going to win his last fight, and he looked pretty darn good until he ate 7 leg kicks without checking one of them, which that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother side. Puncher's Chance, by the way, is coming out with a bunch of new episodes in February and March. We've got a massive UFC threshold of pay-per-views coming up. So make sure to check out Puncher's Chance. And we're going to talk a lot more about Conor McGregor on that show. So I'll keep a lot of that to that show. But I do believe he gets the Nate Diaz 3 here. Moving on to question number 4. Who are the GOATs of the NBA and the NFL? Now, it's hard to judge the NFL because what we stupid people do is we put the NFL in a weird bubble where we judge the greatest of all time by position, which is honestly how you should judge the greatest of all time. And then in the NBA, we say, no, absolutely no way are we going by position. There's only one player, one name that can sit up top of that throne. So the NFL and NBA, it's really hard to compare the greatest of all time in both sports because they're both judged very differently. You all know who I think the greatest basketball player of all time is. If you're new to the show, here, let me probably piss you off right now. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. I was not persuaded by the Last Dance documentary to go ahead and jump on the Jordan bandwagon. While I think Michael Jordan's the second greatest player of all time, he is not my GOAT. Now, I know some of you are out there going, how in the world can this guy say LeBron James is the greatest of all time? Well, if you want to know my reasoning, The Locker Room episode 3 or 4, I can't remember which one, I did a full breakdown. It's like an hour and 20 minutes of why LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. It's really cool. You should go check it out after this awesome episode. But go back and show that one some love. LeBron versus Jordan. It's The Locker Room episode 3. I think it's 3 or 4. But here's the deal. When Jordan came out with his big documentary that he had full control of, so it told the greatest story of all time, people literally jumped from LeBron to Jordan real quick. The steam for LeBron James being the greatest of all time was picking up pretty heavily before that documentary. And if you don't think that that's a true statement, I have a buddy that said LeBron James was the greatest of all time. The day after the Jordan documentary concluded, he bought a pair of Jordan 1s and said that Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time and now hates LeBron James. That is a true story. I can't make this crap up, people. But yeah, LeBron James is the greatest of all time. Michael Jordan's the second greatest of all time. Now, if you want to look at the NFL, like I said, for some reason in our stupid minds, we want to judge the NFL and the NBA very differently. They're both professional sports. There's GOATs in every single category and every single position. But let's go ahead and just pick a singular person here. I guess it would have to be Tom Brady off the top of my head. He's about to go for his 7th Super Bowl. Hopefully he wins it. I will give you my prediction by the end of the show, score and all, so make sure you're sticking around to the very end. But I would probably say Tom Brady would be known as probably the GOAT. Like I said, though, in the NFL, we don't go by a single man, or a single player, we go by positions, which is how all professional sports should judge their GOATs. Next up, we have, does Bradley Beal stay with the Washington Wizards? Yes. Today, Bradley Beal came out and said that he wants to make the Washington Wizards a winning franchise. He's very happy in Washington. He does not want to leave. The only way that Bradley Beal gets out of Washington and he should end up at the Lakers. He should join with LeBron and Anthony Davis. They would not only win a championship this year, they would repeat again next year. Then him and Anthony Davis could be the faces of the franchise for the very near future. Put a beautiful bowl on top of a beautiful bow on top of LeBron James's career. Let him ride off into the sunset, and you have very good hands to keep the franchise in. That's not going to happen, though. But Bradley Beal says he wants to stay in Washington unless Washington gets an offer that they just can't refuse. There's a couple of mock offers out there. I don't know if these are real, if these are leaked. Some say Kyrie Irving and an array of first-round picks could go for Bradley Beal. Some say that James Harden and an array of picks could go for Bradley Beal. I don't know what's happening on the Lakers' end. I've heard Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, and basically like 3 first-round picks could go for Beal. Unless there's an offer that Washington just feels they can't refuse, Bradley Beal is going to be staying in Washington for the very near future. This question is actually one of my favorites that I got, and I almost addressed it a couple of weeks ago when this guy retired, but I didn't. And that is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Fame quarterback? Now, there's a lot of those players in the Hall of Fame already that say absolutely not. Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe says no, he is not a Hall of Fame quarterback. If you just break it down, look at his numbers, look at how many winning seasons he's had, look at how many playoff wins he's had, look at everything he's done over his career, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. The way we judge Hall of Famers now is a lot different than what we used to. We used to only put the most special of the specialist of the greatest to ever do it, right? It used to be such an honor to be in the Hall of Fame that they were keeping names out that would blow your mind. Like, oh, that guy's not in the Hall of Fame. Now it's kind of like our government's immigration policy. Let everybody into the Hall of Fame. You have one good season, you're a Hall of Famer, right? Or at least it feels that way. So judging by today's standards, he played in an era of Big Ben in his prime, Peyton Manning in his prime, Tom Brady in his prime, Drew Brees in his prime. He played in an era with all of these great guys that overshadowed what Phillip Rivers did in his career. And that's the thing, is a lot of people just want to go, oh, he's not a name that sticks out. That's right. If you had a board and you said, hey, here's all the quarterbacks that were in his draft class or in their primes during Phillip Rivers' prime, you would pick Phillip Rivers last most likely because those guys were just something special. All of them are Hall of Famers. But guess what? You were not choosing anybody else above Phillip Rivers. Stop overshadowing what Phillip Rivers did just because he played in an era with great quarterbacks. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I will die on this tombstone until the end of my life, all right? I do believe Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame trash talker, the greatest of all time. Another football question up next. We have a lot of football fans, which, trust me, I am a diehard football guy, so I love answering these questions. Where do I believe Deshaun Watson ends up? Not where I would like him to end up, Jacob. That's a different story. But where do I think Deshaun Watson ends up? Honestly, he might end up a New York Jet. After a horrible season this year with the Houston Texans, all of the Houston Texans players have come out. They're all boo-hooing. They're apologizing to Deshaun for wasting his year, wasting his season, wasting his talent, blah, 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 blah. J.J. Watt being one of the biggest babies right now, which I'm a big J.J. guy, don't get me wrong, but he's just, we're so sorry that we wasted your year. Yet, almost in every single mock trade, like 67%, I believe, of trades have Deshaun Watson ending up a New York Jet. Why are you going to go from a fire, I will admit, Houston right now is a fire, to a dumpster fire of the New York Jets? What, because the Jets fired Adam Gase, now all of a sudden the Jets are on the up and up? The Jets are 6-7 years away from being a winning team, from being above 500. You can't convince me otherwise right now. Unless the Jets make some incredible trades and moves, the Jets are several years away from being not a household name, a household winning name, I guess is the best way to put it. A name that people are like, oh man, the Jets are making some noise. Oh, the Jets had a big win this weekend. Like, that's just, the Jets are so far off. So you want to leave Houston to go to New York to play for a worse team. You both fired your coaches so you could have a fresh start in Houston, but nah. Peace out, bro. I want to go to the Jets. I want to go to a winning franchise. Good luck, Deshaun. Now, where should Deshaun Watson end up? Oh, I don't know. Indianapolis, San Francisco, Chicago. Imagine these teams with this quarterback. All of those teams instantly become Super Bowl contenders. Not even close. But I do believe Deshaun Watson, I don't think he's going to stay in Houston. I do believe he becomes a New York Jet. As of now, things could change, but as of now, I'm going with the high percentage of 67, going along with everybody else and saying the New York Jets. Man, we've got some really great questions. I'm just looking down half the board. We've got some great questions. Thank you guys for these questions. Most look forward to UFC fight of 2021. Man, this is tough. This is really tough because there are some. If you look at the month of March, the UFC is putting on a spectacle of championship fights. Basically, if you have a belt in the UFC, or if you're fighting for a belt, or for the opportunity to fight for a belt, you're fighting in the year of 2021, and it is all happening basically February and March. Dana's just coming out the gate swinging this year, saying we're getting everybody their opportunity right out the gate. You want to win a belt, this is how you're going to do it in the month of March. But probably I would say Stipe and Francis, because Stipe, after beating DC, is the greatest heavyweight of all time statistically. And this will prove once and for all that Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time if he's able to take down Francis Ngannou. Now, for those of you who don't know who Francis Ngannou is, imagine a... how do I put this? Imagine Superman, if he was 3 inches taller, was much scarier, and had the fastest knockout in heavyweight history in the UFC. This man is a freak. What he has been able to do, I think he has the strongest recorded punch in the world right now, too. Now that I'm thinking about it. This man, he's Superman. And he's about to take on Stipe. Oh, this is going to be incredible. I'm telling you, man. This fight is so slept on right now. People want to talk about Usman and all these other people coming back. And, I don't care. There is nobody I'm more excited to watch than Francis Ngannou. He scares the living hell out of me. And this is going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to probably that most, or the debut of Jon Jones. The scariest fighter to ever walk the planet, the greatest to ever do it, the greatest to ever snort coke and walk into an octagon, Jon Jones. Moving up to heavyweight, I might add to that. I don't know who he's going to fight, though. I know there's a long list of characters that have been put on Jon Jones's short list. A lot say that Jon Jones, depending what happens with Stipe and Ngannou, Jon Jones walks into an instant title fight in the heavyweight. I believe he should. I believe he'll win it, and he'll dominate basically mixed martial arts for all of eternity. Jon Jones is just that good. All right, I've got 2 more questions here for you. This next one, it's going to be hard to condense this down into a shortened version because many of you know how I feel about the MLB. Go Cubs, go. But I do believe the MLB has a lot of problems, and that's what this question is where does the MLB fall short? There's so many ways I can talk about the MLB falling short. I can bring up statistics on how the MLB has slowly declined over the last 11 years. Not in the playoffs. Average games have slowly declined over the last 11 years in fan attendance, fan participancy, that's on viewership on TV, and fan interest. That's just a fact. I mean, you can Google it. That's just a fact. Now, ballpark experiences are a lot different than watching the MLB on TV, right? I could go to a baseball game every day of the week with a hot dog, a beer, and have the greatest time of my life. Especially being a Chicago guy, going to Wrigley Field is second to none. Best experience of my life. But let's take the in-ballpark experience out of it. Where I think the MLB falls short, definitely number one is no salary cap. So basically, like I said, you have a bunch of spoiled brats in the MLB, which you have spoiled brats across, all of professional sports. But in the MLB, you have a bunch of spoiled brats, you have a bunch of overpaid brats, and you have a bunch of players that underperform because they have so much money, they have no urgency to really give a crap. Think about this. The average player that gets a contract over $67 million, right? Which is, for baseball, that's basically the 11th man. The man that never steps foot on the field, that guy's making like $70 million. But honestly, the average player that makes like $67 million a year, besides the top 8 players in the MLB, has declined in the years of those contracts. Why? They have no incentive to play. They have more money than they know what to do with. I had this problem with quarantine last year. We saw the MLB struggle and cancel game after game. Why? Because these players did not take it seriously. They didn't quarantine seriously. They didn't keep themselves distanced from people with COVID. They constantly had cases. They were constantly canceling the games, and it was simply because they didn't care. These players did not have the initiative. How many great players, we had Bryce Harper, we had all these guys coming out saying, like, listen, guys, please, for the love of the game, stop playing around. Stop going out and partying. Stop, playing just because you have the money to do so. Some of us want to actually play, and I think that no cap space really takes away from the MLB because these players, a lot of them have no incentive to take it seriously. And I don't know. There's just a lot that I have problems with the MLB. A lot of it's ownership. They don't care. They're stuck in their ways. They're all 1,000-year-old white guys who just don't care about the fan experiences. A lot of them, not all of them. There's many, don't get me wrong, there are many franchises that do it right. And those franchises that I talked about, of course, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs, there's a lot of franchises that do a great job, and they slowly, they build a fan base every year. They slowly gain profits every single year. They've steadily grown since the time of baseball. But there's a lot of places doing it wrong. Sorry, I don't want to continue to rant about the MLB because you know how I feel about it. That's for another segment for another day. But there's a couple issues I have. Moving on to the last question. Oh, this one's pretty cool, actually. Who is my comeback player of the year? Kevin Durant or Alex Smith? Now, taking nothing away from Kevin Durant, he's having one of the most spectacular comeback seasons we have ever seen of a player that had his Achilles injury. We have never seen anything like it. The man's going bonkers. Looks like he's never missed a dribble. Looks great. But this is a runaway favorite, Alex Smith. Alex Smith, they said he was going to lose his leg. They said at one point he might die. They said at one point they might have to amputate both of his legs because of the circulation problems he was having. He was starting to lose feeling in his other leg. His story is so remarkable that this man ever walked again, let alone has stepped foot onto a football field, let alone has won a football game, let alone has thrown for over 340 yards in that season. Mind-blowing. He's the runaway comeback player of forever. The NFL should rename the comeback player of the year the Alex Smith Award. Honor this man for what he has done. Alex Smith is the comeback player, not even close. Great fan questions. Thank you to everybody who sent those in. I have so much fun doing fan questions. I might start doing this as its own segment weekly because it's just so much fun and you guys have so many great questions. So great job, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. I'm giving you one very quietly because I don't want to hurt your ears through the microphone. All right, now we've got a big thing happening this Sunday, the Super Bowl. That is right. Big goat versus baby goat, as a lot of people are calling it, and that's really what I want to focus on today. If Patrick Mahomes wins this football game, beats Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, if Patrick Mahomes goes on to win 2 or 3 more Super Bowls, let's say he gets to 4 or 5, if Patrick Mahomes he's probably going to surpass, if he plays at this level, Brady in yards, touchdowns in the playoffs and in the regular season, set a bunch new records that will probably not be broken for another 20 years. If he's able to do that, can Patrick Mahomes surpass Tom Brady as the GOAT? That is the big question here. I asked it on my Instagram. I'm going to talk about it now. So on Instagram, Patrick Mahomes just slightly got the edge over Tom Brady with the yes vote. A lot of people out there saying that yes, if he beats Tom Brady, he could, at the end of his career, surpass Tom Brady. Now, I am not the kind of guy that just instantly goes like, nope, never going to happen, it can't happen, it's never been done, blah, 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 blah. Because if you put a no or never at the end of a sentence, there's always a small possibility that something could happen, right? Those people that say, oh, I'll never win the lottery, and then all of a sudden you hit the lottery and you have, $130 million in your bank, well, now you look like a fool. You said you'd never win it. There's always a possibility for everything. Is there a possibility that if Patrick Mahomes wins this Super Bowl, and these are all ifs, ands, or buts, right? If Patrick Mahomes wins this Super Bowl, that he could surpass Brady at the end of Patrick Mahomes' career as the greatest quarterback of all time? Absolutely. There's always an opportunity or a possibility that those things can happen. Do I think it's very likely? No. I don't think it's very likely that Patrick Mahomes, although is far superior when it comes to arm strength, mobility than Tom Brady, I don't believe that he can ever surpass Tom Brady as the GOAT. And there's a lot of reasons why I don't think that that's ever going to happen. But here's some interesting facts that deal around Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. First off, Patrick Mahomes was 6 years old when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl at the age of 24. That's crazy. And he's about to play Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That's first and foremost. His age and his longevity has shown through time. Although Tom has definitely declined in arm strength and definitely declined in mobility, Tom Brady is still an elite quarterback in the NFL at the ripe age of 4,000. Right? Like Tom Brady was 24 when Patrick Mahomes was 6 years old and not even thinking about football at the time. Tom Brady takes the field for his 10th Super Bowl appearance. He has started in 10 Super Bowls. The next closest is John Elway with 5 Super Bowls. Let that sink in. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that do the Jordan 6 for 6 thing and how it's not great that LeBron has gotten to so many NBA Finals, 8 in a row for LeBron James. We can't continue to do that because getting to the Super Bowl is no easy feat, and we can't just keep throwing that to the side. Same thing with LeBron. So I would take 6-3 over 6 for 6 any day of the week. Anytime I'm able to get to the big stage and play at a very elite level, which LeBron James and Tom Brady have, that can't be discredited. I mean, hell, LeBron James lost a finals, lost a championship while leading in every statistical category. Greatness and longevity has a lot to do with the GOAT conversation. So that's another notch in Tom Brady's belt. 6 for 3 in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady has more Super Bowl appearances than Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers combined. This is even a crazier stat. Tom Brady has played in over 18% of all Super Bowls. He has played in 48% of all Super Bowls since he was drafted in 2000. He's played in 14 conference championship games. He has 33 playoff wins. The next closest has 16. And finally, just for good measure, he also holds the records for most passes completed with 43 in a Super Bowl and 505 yards just to go along with it. The reason I don't believe that Patrick Mahomes, even if he beats Brady on Sunday, the reason I don't believe he could ever take over that GOAT is because I don't think that Patrick Mahomes, and these are all assumptions here, it could change based on, his career. I don't believe Patrick Mahomes is going to be playing at an elite level at 46 years old, going to 10 Super Bowls. I I can't wrap my head around anybody else doing what Tom Brady is doing, and therefore that is why Tom Brady will always be the greatest quarterback of all time. Same thing with LeBron James. There's no one that will ever be able to do what LeBron James has done, and I will stick by that until I see somebody that can do it. So can Patrick Mahomes do it? Absolutely. He has the opportunity to. Anybody has the opportunity to do it, but I don't believe that anybody can do it. Otherwise, you would have a lot more people with 10 Super Bowl appearances, a lot more people with 8 straight finals in the NBA. It just doesn't come that often. Now, while we are on the subject of the Super Bowl, it is time for my official prediction for this year's Super Bowl. Now, you know probably most likely who I want to win. I might have even said who I want to win this Super Bowl, but this is the official prediction. Put it in the books. Where Jacob will be right, where Jacob will be wrong in the future, put it in the history books today. My Super Bowl prediction is as follows. And it starts like this. For those of you who don't know, that's an Office reference. Michael Scott, greatest show of all time. Here it is. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning in a shootout. 48-43. It is going to be a massacre of yardage. You're going to see gates wide open. Once again, the immigration policy, let everybody through. You're going to see Tom Brady in a gunslinging battle with the greatest gunslinger in the league right now, Patrick Mahomes. He gets it done. He wins yet another Super Bowl. He walks away with the Super Bowl MVP, his 5th one of his career. He takes a first-year team all the way to the big dance and blows minds, does something nobody has ever done. Tom Brady, I'm giving it to you. I'm rooting for you, buddy. Get out of that walker, put on your Rogaine, make sure you got your icy hot on your knees, and bring your A game, because you can't throw 3 interceptions. You can't turn the ball over against a team like this, especially against a team that is the fastest scoring team in NFL history, with the best thrower of the football right now in the NFL, could possibly be of all time. Big Goat versus Baby Goat. I think Big Goat takes the cake here, and that is my final prediction. So put it in the books. When I am right, we can look back on this day in happiness and in glory. But if I am wrong, I will delete this episode and you will never know that I ever said what I said, because you'll have no proof. Although we've come to the end of the show, we've got one more segment to go. That is right. That is a Boys to Men reference. They're awesome. We've got one more segment here. Our NBA grades are back. A+, B+, and C+. We are going to go a little bit different scale from now on. But the NBA grades are back, and we had some massive performances, and this is very hard. In all honesty, this is very hard to pick between these guys. My C+ grade. This goes to a guy that most of you probably have never heard of, unless you're a fan of Kentucky. Most of you probably didn't even know he was a basketball player. Hell, if I said his name, you would have thought he worked for the Pope. Malik Monk, with 36 points, 5 rebounds, and a win over the Miami Heat. What a performance. He gets my C+ grade. And that is right, guys. At the locker room here, we do not discriminate and only go stars. We go across the board. We even get the religious helpers, the monks, involved, right? So Malik Monk takes my C+ grade. Number 2. My B+ grade goes to Russell Westbrook with 41 points, 10 rebounds, the game-winning three-pointer over the Brooklyn Nets. In regulation, they won 147-146. If you don't think that the Brooklyn Nets are in major trouble because they literally couldn't stop a runny nose with the proper medicine in a tissue, then you are out of your mind. They are statistically the worst defense in NBA history as it holds up right now. If they finish this year, they will be the worst defensive team to ever grace a court in the NBA. And there's been a lot of really bad defensive teams. They let the Washington Wizards put up 147 points on them in regulation. No overtime. But Russell Westbrook hits the nasty dagger, gets the game winner over his former foe, Kevin Durant. And my A-plus grade goes to somebody who, if I pronounced his name correctly, you still wouldn't know the difference. Nikola Jokic with a 47 bomber, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and a massive win over the Red Hot Jazz. That is right, I said the Red Hot Jazz. The hottest team in basketball. They had the best record as of a couple days ago. Nikola Jokic went in there and just used his big marshmallow-looking body to put up 47, 12, and 5. What a performance. Those are my NBA grades of the last couple of weeks. Congratulations, gentlemen. You get absolutely nothing. Well, we officially have come to the end of the program. I want to say thank you to everybody who has ever tuned in or listens to the Locker Room Podcast. Whether it's for 5 seconds, 15 minutes, or the entire show, you guys are awesome. I can't thank you enough. Make sure you're following us on our social media because I kid you not, Saturday we have massive news dropping. Sunday we have massive things dropping on the Super Bowl as well. Make sure you're following us on our social medias. Stay up to date. Once again, guys, I'm Jacob Courtwright. This is The Locker Room.